Hi everyone, welcome to Delgado Adult Ed with ESL Level 3-4. This week's topic is around town. We're going to use the past, present, and future tense independent clauses with when, after, and before. We're going to learn some new vocabulary, and we're going to write and talk about your daily life. All right, so when we use words like after or before or when, we will oftentimes be forming a dependent clause. If the dependent clause if the dependent clause comes at the beginning of a sentence, you need a comma following it. If it comes at the end of the sentence, you don't need a comma. We know these terms probably already, before and after. So we have the little yellow chick. Before the yellow chick was born, it was in an egg. After the yellow chick grows up, it will become a big red hen, right? So those are pretty easy, as is the basic tenses. We have past tense, present tense, future tense, right? Drove, drive, will drive. Ran, run, will run, right? Pretty basic. But when is a little bit trickier. When has a lot of different meanings and definitions. In this lesson, we're going to focus on using when as a conjunction. So I loved math when I was in school. I loved both of these things at the same time, right? So they're happening simultaneously. So what we've done is we've given you a bunch of sentences here, and in some of these sentences, you can use the term when, and some of them you can use after, and some you can use before, and in some of the sentences, you can use multiple answers. Just try to think about which answers make sense and which one wouldn't make sense. So would you say, after you go running, you must tie your shoes? That doesn't make that much sense because you would have already have ran. Before you go running, you must tie your shoes. Or even when you go running, you must tie your shoes. That makes sense. But after you go running, you must tie your shoes doesn't make as much sense. So look over all of these different sentences, try out the when, after, and before, and see which ones make sense and which ones don't, right? And then we can discuss that in our quiz. We'll have some of these for you to check yourself. All right, let's do some practice talking. So we have a bunch of vocabulary for this week: post office, bridal store, sporting goods store, gas station, pharmacy, hardware store, grocery store, corner store, doctor's office, lingerie store, big box store, and a clinic. And we have a bunch of verbs. So negotiate, buy, order, pick up, repair, leisure, try on, choose, shop around, purchase, drop off, and errands. So we would think about the stores and our verbs, and we're going to try to combine them. So we might think about just a variety of random items we might need to buy. And we have some sentence frames here for you to try to put these nouns, these products, along with some of these different verbs to form your sentences, right? Where will you go to get what, right? We have also added in here a bunch of sentences that are all with the dependent clauses, either with it coming in the beginning of the sentence or in the end of the sentence. Read them over, say them out loud, practice, 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 and look up anything that you're not familiar with. All right, so we have a quick little activity that you'll find in here this week. You'll have a chart from the city inspector, and he's telling you his schedule, what he's going to do, and where he's going to go. And so read over that, and then they have just some sentence frames, just general sentence frames that you can use to talk about that information. And there's also like a map of the French Quarter where we put in some of these locations, and you can use them to describe directions, to say he should go here first, and then after he goes to the grocery store at 9, he will go this direction to go to the bridal store, or he'll go that direction to go to the bridal store. So you can use that to form some sentences. Use the map to do that, and we'll have that little bit of map in the quiz also. And then, of course, there's some basic sentence frames for you. All right, after you finish writing your own sentences and saying them out loud, we'll move on to some reading this week. There are 7 types of shoppers, and I would say, which one are you? Are you an impulse buyer, an educated shopper, a browser, a bargain hunter, a negotiator, a a brand loyalist, or a practical shopper. So we have an article, a little story about each type of shopper. Read them over and think about yourself. And then after each type of shopper, there's a true or false question. And you can just answer those to think about what you have read. And then we can talk about this in this week's quiz. What type of shopper are you? The final thing that we'll do this week is we'll have some slang and expressions for checking information. So we might have comments like, I'm sorry, did you say, excuse me, what did you say, huh? Or where we echo questions, which is where somebody asks us something and then we kind of steal their words to rephrase what they were saying. In here, there's several scenarios, little stories that go with the pictures. Read over the stories, notice how the expression is used, and then think about how you could use those expressions in your day-to-day life, and if you feel like you're not exactly sure if you heard the right thing.